All right. What's up, guys? So I'm just waiting for Tom here. Oh, it looks like he just messaged me. I think he was on a call or something. Okay, so he should be joining us here, but we're going to be discussing. All right. We're going to be discussing Grant Cardone and Ben Mallah and what Tom and I are doing real estate wise as far as this whole this whole meltdown here. And yeah, we'll be talking about all of that kind of stuff. Did I get my rents this month? Did Tom get his rents? How are we going to handle this? And are we prepared for this as real estate investors, right? And and also what happened with the other big ones, right? This is kind of the test, right? So people do well in good situations when the real estate market's going up, but what happens when things go down, when things are bad? And both Tom and I have survived the 2008 crash. We've been here before, and we've come out actually ahead in those situations. And so that's why I wanted to talk to Tom here, because he's got some really good viewpoints on all of this, and it just goes to show you, right? That and we'll see what happens here, right? A lot of people that are preaching a lot of things on YouTube and selling courses on real estate investment and things like that, you're going to find that a lot of them are going to crumble, and it's because they were just benefiting from the good times, but they weren't making solid investments. So let's see here. So would like to get Tom in here before we start talking about everything, but I think he's trying to jump into the stream now. Let me just double check and make sure. So, all right. While we're waiting here, I see some familiar faces here. What's up, Chris? Chris Tech Tips with the first comment. Once again, Christian is here. Sleeping Elephant. What's up, man? What's up, Grant? See you over there. And Thomas, Real. What's up? What's up, Max? How's it going, guys? So what's this? 275 Drago says, trust the process. Yeah, I like it. All right, let me see here. Still no message from. All right. So yeah. So anyway, I guess we'll talk a little bit about what I've got going on right now with this whole thing. I actually just messaged one of my tenants. So I've got one commercial property, and one of the tenants already paid the lease, the rent, and then one of the other ones I just messaged, and he said he's having some trouble paying it, but he's looking for that government money to help him. So we'll see what happens there. That could be a mess, but oh, here's Tom. So let's. Hey, Tom. All right, you're alive. We're on the stream here.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Let me get my situated here. You hear me okay, John?
Yeah. So everyone, this is Tom, a good friend of mine who's a lot more experience actually in real estate investment than me. He's one of the big dogs there up there, and so I definitely rely on his advice. And I thought what we'd do, like I said, is talk about today, what's happening. Tom did some videos on Grant Cardone and Ben Mallah, and even Graham Steffens talking about their investments and the strategies, and especially I like the videos he's been doing lately talking about how the different positions, like where you're at, right, as far as Grant Cardone and Ben Mallah. And so I thought it'd be kind of interesting to have Tom on here, and we'll talk about what's going on and what he thinks about what's going to happen with some of these real estate gurus. All right,
So yeah, well, I never watched Grant Cardone much, and I just happened to watch that one. I've seen his face everywhere before, and when I watched what I watched, I thought, oh my God, it seemed like I was melting down. I think he's got good energy and that sort of thing, and but I was kind of taken aback by the desperation, and I put that just kind of my commentary on them, and things kind of blew up on that particular channel, on that podcast I did, or video cast. But anyhow, John, I might have missed part of what you said. What was your question?
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, that we're just going to discuss, what's happening with Grant Cardone and Ben Mallah. So I guess the question would be like, what do you think is going to happen? How do you think, with the way that Grant Cardone is leveraged with his Cardone Capital, how do you think that this COVID-19 is going to affect him? Do you think that it's really, really bad for him in being in that position, or is it something that he's likely to pull out of? I mean, he's got a lot of investors, right?
I got to say, I don't know anything about his investment structure other than the very little that I heard him talk about. And what he said in that video that I did my commentary on my channel, is he talked about having this, he was kind of boasting about being able to pay a dividend check based on as little as an 85% occupancy rate. Well, that's really nothing to brag about, and I mean, if he was saying he could do it with the 60%, occupancy, now that would be something. But just that indication alone tells me that he's leveraged. Now I've heard people say he's, puts 25% down. I saw something on this Meet Kevin thing. Just said something about he put 20. He was kind of going through one of his deals where he put 25% down. But the problem with apartments, and Ben Mallah would agree, and I actually take some of Ben's stuff and mix it in with my own in that video that I made. And Ben's like me, he owns hotels. I don't own hotels. I've owned apartments, and I've made millions of dollars on apartments. But the problem with apartments in this particular crisis is you have people losing jobs and people that you cannot evict. Okay. And even if you could evict them, it costs money. Imagine losing 30% of your building, and now you have to do what we call make readies. That means make it ready for the next tenant.
Exactly. Yeah. Those are not my favorite things.
You got to paint. Listen, this is one of the reasons I got rid of apartments, by the way.
I
got about 130,000 to 150,000 square feet that I always have rented, or, I maintain. It's the rentals that I keep. I turn some of them, so I'll say 130,000 roughly. I don't want to say something I don't do. Anyways, and so Ben, like me, he has offices and commercial and that sort of thing. Well, look, one of my hedges in my rental portfolio, so I thought, was I like schools. I like, I have schools, I have daycare, I have, I have a lot of stuff, but this is some of it. I have jujitsu schools. I have dance schools. I have gyms, like Ben has gyms. I have some gyms. I have massage therapists. I have, barber, right? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Those I always thought are bulletproof against Amazon. Amazon can't hurt these people, right?
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
And they can't, but guess what? COVID-19 is devastating these people.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And so, myself, I'm ordering everything on Amazon right now. I don't even love to do that, but I got to do it.
Yeah.
So, and I just put another video out, basically. It's got Ben, myself, and Grant compared, but it was April 1st. April 1st. Believe me, April 1st, if you're a substantial landlord, you're like, whoa, let's see what comes in, right? And exactly. You are too, right?
Yeah,
I'm watching that mail.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, who's going to survive? Who can pay? And so, look, I've got a pretty big portfolio of property, and as of right now, it looks like I got about a $45,000 hole that's not being filled. Okay, I got people that can't pay, or they're partially paying.
Right.
But I've got plenty of people that do pay, and so you can tell me what you think about this, John. But this is one of the things Grant come out is he points to his building being an office building, then he points to a strip center, which I also own strip centers. And then he points and he says, this is bad. And, and I'm paraphrasing. And then he says, the commercial is bad, the strip centers. And then he points to his apartments and he goes, that'll save your day. Well, I couldn't disagree more. Okay. Because he's got the worst. He's got the worst of the worst. He's got people that will move in with each other to save rent, that are friends and neighbors. He's got, and who the hell wants to be stuck, by the way? Who wants to be in an apartment complex during COVID-19? Right, not me. I want a backyard. I gotta have some space. Right. Where I got a big, you've been to my place. I got a big place. Yeah. I'm getting stir crazy there. But the bottom line is he was talking about the apartments being so much better. And I'm telling you, all those places he's pointing to as being a bad investment, it employs those people. Okay. Those businesses, like my own, I'm in a 20,000 square foot building right now. I employ people here. Right. We're going to be open as soon as possible. Like any business, that's where they make their money. And I think I've got a president that understands that, how important that is too. And he's looking at that. But that's a tough call. And I think it's a real tough call for Mr. Trump, because there's huge disaster in a financial disaster. We're already suffering it now. Right. But our crisis isn't a financial crisis caused by, overbuilding, or, what we call what do we call it when you overbuild a balloon or a
right. Yeah. Like a bubble. Yeah.
A bubble. Thank you. Anyways, that's not our situation right now. Okay?
Exactly.
We don't have a bubble that's busting. No, we have a bubble that's growing. Okay. But we're not even at the beginning of it. Everything's raring. And I think there is some light at the end of the tunnel, no matter what. We realize that we don't make the most important medicines we need at this time. We don't even make in our own country. We don't make ventilators hardly in our country. And so I think we got a hard several months ahead. I personally probably wouldn't buy anything right now unless I just hands down felt extremely, I try to buy everything 30% under market anyways. That's
exactly.
And right now, I don't know what 30% under market is exactly. Is that, because I don't know exactly what the market is right at this moment right now. And so, like I say, but you don't know exactly how things are going to turn out. I've been hanging out at the lake, and I try not to worry about it too much. I've talked to a couple of tenants. I got tenants that pay me, $20,000 a month, and I got some big tenants. That's a big tenant to me. And but like Ben Mallah, he sounds like he's got people paying $50,000 a month. So he's got some even bigger tenants. But I've got a lot of tenants, and I get concerned. But guess what? One of the ones that's surviving best is a school. It's one of my big. That's one that pays me big bucks like that. And they got an alternative. And some of the schools are very lucrative anyways, and they can get through. But some of them are not so. Gyms and things, that's a little different, I think. So I don't know. Do you have any trouble in your portfolio yet that you identified?
It's I'm glad that it's somewhat diversified at this point, right? That I'm not relying on both in location and in the type of assets. So far it looks like most rents are coming in from like duplexes, fourplexes, and whatnot. And I think partially that's because some of the property management companies that I have working for me are on top of it, and they're basically telling tenants, "Say, look, the government says you don't have to pay rent and we can't evict you. It's true, but you're still on the hook for it. So if you don't pay the rent this month, you're still going to have to pay that rent eventually. So you might as well, if you've got the money, you might as well pay it now." And so that's kind of been the message that's gone out, which has been good, because that's the truth, right? It's like, you don't want to get behind.
I don't know if it's true, but
well, what's true is that, like, as long as you don't request forbearance on your loan, which I don't have loans on most of these properties, right? I unleveraged myself on those so that I could, and again, it's kind of interesting because that strategy, right? A lot of people have said, John, well, why are you unleveraging yourself on all these properties? Because you're not going to gain that appreciation and that leverage appreciation. But this is one of those circumstances where being unleveraged is really nice. And it was because of the security of it, right? It's like, this is my sort of retirement nest egg, like, yeah, I could be greedy and try to make more money off of it. That's fine. But having the security is better. So even if people didn't pay rents on the residential side, I think I'd be okay, right? It wouldn't be fun. I still have to pay taxes and insurance on those properties, obviously. But on the commercial side, so far, I have 2 tenants on one building that have paid. And then on one of the bigger buildings I have in Missouri, the big tenant that pays like $8,800 a month, they paid, but the smaller one didn't. And I'm working with that person. So we'll see. You know, when this hit, though, I was basically ready to basically look at getting about 50% of my rents. That's what I figured, and weathering that storm. Right. And the way I look at it too is, it's, you know, if one of these businesses, if you're a business and you can't pay your lease, you're out of business. Like it's not like a rent exactly where you could just be evicted and you can move on or whatnot. Like if you all the leases are personally guaranteed. So if you're a business and you can't pay the lease, you're basically going to go out of business. So there's not much leverage that you can really use against, it's like they're basically fucked. Like they're completely fucked. Yeah. So anyway, that's how I'm looking at it is it's kind of like, hey, I'm looking at this whole thing as the person who wins is the person who survives, who's the least fucked, right? Because everyone's going to be hurting. So if you have cash reserves, if you're set up, right, and that's how I'm I've got a lot of cash now, and I'm glad that I've got a lot of cash because I could ride this storm out for the next 5 years if I had to, sure, and live just fine. But that's the primary strategy I'm looking at. So I think that's where it comes down to, like you're talking about, like guys like Grant Cardone and Ben Mallah. And it's funny because I watch your video, and like that Ben Mallah's video, you can just tell by the way he's acting that he's all right, even though he's like, because he's joking about losing all this money, and he's like, we're all fucked. I'm losing $50,000. But when someone is talking like that, yeah, he's going to take a hit. Obviously, it's not fun, but he's not super worried. But when you compare that to the Grant Cardone video, that's where I think your assessment is right. I got, it's a little bit worrying. It seems like he's not so sure. He's a little bit more like trying to, and he's got to like prop up the confidence of his investors, because if they all start freaking out, it's going to create a nightmare for him. So, but I don't know. I don't know how leveraged he is, and I don't know how bad it'll get there. But the thing I'm thinking about too is also just that it doesn't matter how you prepare. Like you said, like you got, Amazon proof commercial, like no one could see this coming, and there's nothing that you could prepare against completely. There's no investment that's 100% secure, right? I mean, no. I always tell real estate investors when they're asking me for coaching advice, I'm like, they always ask this question of like, well, what happens if you buy all these properties, like your strategy is, and then they all become vacant at the same time, or all of the tenants don't pay rent? And I'm always like, that's ridiculous. Like right. The odds of that happening, like, I mean, sure, maybe 1 or 2 tenants don't pay rent or they move out or whatever, and you've got some vacancies, but this is the scenario where that can happen, right? I mean, like if we stay in lockdown for another 2 or 3 months, absolutely that will be the case. Like who's going to be able to pay rent? No one.
Right. Nope. You got, I'm with you on that. The thing with Grant in particular, and I agree with your assessment, what you're saying too. Grant, I mean, he must have said cash flow 100 times in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And pull your money out of the bank, get it invested in real assets. And I'm paraphrasing again, but it's a sales pitch, and it was a terrible one. And he was pushing them to, he points to a building that 99% of America can't buy. And he's saying, Go buy that. That's what you need to buy. Well, of course. So what's your answer? You buy it with Grant. Okay. The other thing is when people, start coming apart and get nervous, they say stupid things. And I even wrote, I think in my description, Grant needs to stop doing live stuff and just concentrate on republishing the old stuff or something. But because he doesn't do well live right now when he's talking off the cuff like he did. And he put his foot in his mouth. I think he said, well, I just paid $200
and $800.
Yeah, and $800,000 it went to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, that's a 40-60 split. I want to know the details on that. Did you put in 40%, Grant? Did you put in 20%? Did you put in a penny? I don't know. But at 40% could be a terrible deal. I mean, if somebody gets 40%, they don't have any meat in it, they don't have any sweat or skin in the game. That sucks. You know what I mean? But I don't know the facts. But the problem is he didn't explain himself, and he didn't detail it. And the thing is you probably would detail it if you thought it was a good deal.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's fairly standard for syndicate deals. I've looked at a few syndicate deals, and the way that they do the syndicate deals, usually like these big ones, is that you're basically a non-active investor, right? And what they do is they charge you a fee for managing putting the deal together, right? It's like a 1% per year fee, and then a loan origination fee on top of the loan that when they secure the financing for that's usually a couple percent, and then a disbursement fee. And so what ends up happening is that they basically it ends up being like a 60-40, right? When the syndicator puts in maybe like 10% equity, or sometimes they don't put in any equity. Their equity is the value they got on the property. So if they buy a property for $40 million, that has a market value of $40 million, but they bought it for 35, they consider that to be $5 million of equity, and they sell you the property at the 40 million, essentially, as an investor, right? That's the valuation that they use on it. So it's interesting. Like, I seriously looked at some CDDs when I was doing it, which are basically these syndications, but a CDD one is, for everyone watching, allows you to 1031 into one of these syndicated deals.
I see.
And some of these are decent in the sense that, like, you could get into one of these and you could get almost a pretty close to guaranteed rate of return of around like 6% on your money, with a 50% leverage, so that you still have some growth, just cash on cash returns. So you still have some growth potential in there as well. And it's managed, and it's huge portfolio of 100 Walgreens, or, they have like different ones you can invest in, but it's pretty secure. It's diversified. You're not doing anything. You're basically just getting a check for, 5.5%, 6% of whatever your investment is, which, it's in that, obviously the syndicators are probably making, a lot more money, but they're giving you a decent amount for the fact that you don't have to do anything or worry about anything. So I think that's where it comes in. And I think that what Grant is really kind of selling people, which makes sense. When I actually talked to him, when I was at a conference, I went and I had a meeting with him when he was first doing the Cardone Capital and trying to raise, and he was trying to get some money from me. And I was thinking about putting $1 million into his thing. But when I looked at it, I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if, like, I just want to hand over my $1 million to you to get a 6% return or so that I don't have to worry about, except that I have to worry about what you're doing, right? Whereas I think with some of these bigger CDDs and stuff, and that have been doing this for many, many years, it's a little bit more trustworthy. Whereas Grant Cardone, because he's a public name, and because he's just like you said, right? Because he's doing live streams, it could really impact his actual investment. Because if he has a bunch of people that pull money, or banks see him on a live stream and they're like, whoa, this guy is in trouble.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, we're going to need to call this credit line, this line of credit due now before this guy goes under. I think that's a risk that's out there. I mean, I like the guy. I like Grant. I think he's a go-getter. He's got
charismatic dude, and I think he has a lot to. I mean, he's a good salesman. I mean, that comes across. And like I said, I really hadn't watched much. I don't know much about his real estate deals. I just saw the one. Thought it was a terrible pitch, but I've seen 10 times this, and people consider him. I see they call him Uncle G affectionately, and that's cool. So, but sometimes a person's talent, they can kind of extrapolate it to be talent in an area that they really don't have talent.
Right.
You talk people into investing in you, and you go into a terrible investment. And I hope that's not the case, but I don't know.
Well, yeah.
But I don't like anybody being in a position where they have a creation that they're in. They don't have any real sweat in the game. They've already made their money on it.
Yeah.
They can walk away unharmed. The hell
Right.
with that. That
Yeah.
would never work for me. And I don't know that that's what he has. I'm not saying that's what he has, but he should clarify it and get, be clarified. Give us the details on it. If you're going to try to high pressure people to put money into your invest with you, then, come on. And then he's telling people, if you're not a little bitch, if you're not a stupid baby. I mean, who talks like that? I mean, shit. If he'd talked like that to you, I'm sure, and at the conference, you'd have just said, I mean, maybe not. I don't know. But if I'd have heard that shit, I'd be like, I'm out. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting how things shakes out. Because the other thing is, those people will probably get assistance and money. I think a lot of people that make under 80 grand or something are going to get, $600 a month for a week. I mean, for 4 months, maybe, I don't know, whatever the deal is. But I don't know. I can tell you, I have a company, and I have a payroll currently of about, I don't know, 50,000 a month. And so we've already signed up for the paycheck protection thing for, and with that paycheck protection thing, and I don't even know for sure I'm going to get it yet. I don't know. But supposedly maybe they'll give me a loan for, say, 4 times my payroll. So say 200 grand. Now with that 200 grand, I pay people that work for me. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. And that's I got to give the government credit. That's a hell of a great idea, because they just alleviated the need for an unemployment line that they can't let people get into. You follow me?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I released 2 employees from that particular company, and because I felt like, hey, I don't know what to do, and I don't want you to be late filing for unemployment. Right. And so I didn't want to, but I said, it was 2. I said, man, you guys are on the chopping block, basically. So I'm cutting you loose as of, it's a couple of days after they stopped working. I said, hey, I got to cut you loose. And so, I don't know, but everybody else is kind of the skeleton crew, and that business makes money. Not much, to be quite honest, at the moment, but it's it's squeaking along. But nothing to do with real estate.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. And the things I am concerned about is it takes time to create a vaccine. They have to actually grow stuff. I don't know exactly what, but they have to grow stuff to make the medicine that's going to be the vaccine, based on the antibodies and things like that. That's not my, it's not something I have any strength in and know about. But the bottom line is, it's not going to fix quickly. What I'm most concerned about is if they're going to have to start opening up the economy, meaning, look, you can let farmers work because they're not in tight proximity to each other, but they're only going to do it as there is medicines to treat people, in my opinion, and as there's masks that allow people to go to work with a mask, if that's the case. And then they can open it up full blown when they have enough, ventilators to handle, when people get really critical, so I don't know. And my understanding right now is they're calling every pneumonia death a COVID death, and that's probably skews the numbers in a way that creates more panic. I don't know. And with politicians, you never know what they'll do to skew the numbers, because they got no heart, they got no soul. They'll do anything. Say it's just true. It's just true. Yeah. So.
I'm about 50% convinced this whole thing is some kind of a hoax, that it's not real, at least in the sense that the level of threat was completely over exaggerated knowingly. Like I said, I'm 50-50 on it. I'm not entirely sure on it, but there's so many red flags that are showing up here. So quickly we gave up our freedoms. So quickly we gave up our right to assemble and everything that's laid out in our, in the Bill of Rights, very, very quickly. And there seems to be a lot of propaganda going on with phrases that are being repeated, like stay inside, save lives, and the whole flatten the curve. It feels like a Orwellian novel to me. So I'm not again, I'm not a huge conspiracy theory person, but But that's, I think there's something weird going on here that's beyond like you said, with the flu deaths, like they're calling all these COVID-19 deaths, and all of a sudden they're magically saying now, oh wow, the death rate's not as high as we thought, maybe because it was passing around in December. And I don't know, I'm just real skeptical of the whole thing. But but regardless, we're still dealing with the fact that businesses are shut down, and that we're on these lockdowns. And you're right, I think things are going to get worse. I'm really surprised that the market has been going up, because I mean, the downstream effects, like, it, I know it, right? It's like people, when they stop paying their mortgages, the banks are going to be in big trouble, and we're going to have, even though this wasn't caused by a financial crisis, I think we're going to see like a 2008 type of situation with the mortgage-backed securities again. The government's trying to, I think today they're trying to prop that up and saying that that's not going to be the case. But I don't know. I disagree. I think that we're gonna see that. Which so the big question, I guess, which, because and maybe this is one to look at for different real estate investors, is, okay, so you were around for 2008. I was around for 2008. Like, we survived this. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people that were real estate investors until 2008, and now they're not, and they lost their asses off. So I guess the question is, like, how did you survive, and what's the what's the criteria, like, and how would you judge someone like Grant Cardone or Ben Mallah or any of the real estate gurus out there in terms of, like, if they had to actually go through a 2008?
Sure. Well, so like in 2008, what screwed me worst is I had a deal that I was about to buy that I could have made $2 or $3 million on. And the bank didn't say yes, and they didn't say no.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And this is a multi-million-dollar deal. So they didn't say yes, and they stalled me. And then they said no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, yeah, I'm like, and then I was scrambling and I was running out of time, and I let the damn thing go. And then they started doing quantitative easing. And they started, and then there's all this other BS. And so, the banks tighten up. I can tell you, I had a bank. I was just about to get a line. Should have had it probably this morning for $1.7 million. And that was just borrowing against a $3 million asset, 60% of that asset. Banks told me no this morning. And they would never tell me no. They would never tell me no. And it's not that big a deal either, to be honest. But I'm like, what? And they go, no. They go, Tom, we go, we're so busy having to take care of this SBA stuff. And right now we're calling into question, the rentals. I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't owe a penny on this thing. I want it free and clear. They say, yeah, I know, but they go, look, and it's the one person banker I've been dealing with many years. She's gone through 3 or 4 banks in her career, and I've just followed her.
Yeah.
But she said, no, man, it's it. They're not going to do it. Well, I was already shopping her, so I have another bank that'll say yes. So,
yeah.
Anyways, a credit union in this case. At least I think so. We'll see. So I don't know. I just, I do leverage. I mean, I will leverage. I will buy stuff at 25% down. But guess what? It's not for long term. And I have another hedge against that. When I buy something, when I put 25% down, I'm putting down 25% of my purchase price. It's worth 25% more than I'm buying it for the day
exactly.
I buy it. So now I'm at, now maybe I'm 38%. You know what I mean? Equity.
Right.
And
exactly.
Not exactly where I want to be, but it's comfortable. That's comfortable. And especially if I look at my portfolio overall, okay, I'm not leveraged more than probably 20%. So
right.
I'm very, very healthy. So anyways, where, I don't know if Grant can share money among his fund, but, so if he has one apartment complex that makes money with a 60%, occupancy, and then he's got another one that's dying with a 60% occupancy, just because one owes more to the bank than the other, I don't think he can bail one out with the other.
No, he can't.
He could do it with his own funds if he has them, but you know what? He probably ain't going to do that. So is he going to let the thing sink? Is he going to let it? Is he going to let that that particular fund or that particular entity that owns that, is that group going to die because they're leveraged? I don't know. And I'm not even trying to suggest that's the case, but obviously because I don't know, we can speculate and talk about what any person would have in that kind of problem in that situation. And certainly I hope he doesn't have that problem for the sake of the investors, and I hear a lot about unaccredited investors. I mean, I remember you telling me, you were talking, years ago about maybe investing with Cardone. And I remember you saying, I think at the time you had $350,000 to $1 million or something like that. You were talking about, throwing that way. And I was like, I don't like that stuff. I like holding on. I hold the reins on all my deals.
Exactly.
I hold the reins, and I like it that way. And I suggest if anybody watching, listen, take control of your own assets, responsibility for your own stuff. Buy it by yourself. And I mean, I got a book on the subject too. I'll go ahead and plug my book here. Yeah. So Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. It's selling like crazy. It's doing very, very well. You get it for $10 on Kindle. And you can click directly to my videos that are relevant to that topic. And that's really, it's a course. It's a full-blown course. And exactly. John knows. John's been to visit me, and I've taken him around and shown him a lot of my stuff. I mean, I'm the real deal for sure. But anyways, enough of that. But behind me, by the way, Flip Anything, I have an app that's free. You can get it on Android and iPhone, and it's free, 100% free. So you might like it. That's all. But back to the subject, John, a friend of mine just bought, and it's funny, I'm going to have him on the show sometime because I inspired him to get into real estate. And one day he said, "Hey, Tom, give me a tour." And I gave him a tour like I gave you a tour. And I run around and I go, "Yeah, see, it's easy." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, it doesn't look easy." but he ended up buying a nice, like about a $3 million deal. And he's a wealthy guy. He's talented at what he does, and he makes a lot of money. And but anyways, he bought a place. And I said, "How you doing rents?" He goes, "Well," he goes, "not bad." And I go, "Well, what's your tenancy?" He goes, "I got 2 tenants. And 80% of the building is taken by my biggest one, and that is a dialysis." And I go, "Oh," I go, "They ain't going anywhere." He goes, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "No." He goes, "We called him and said, 'Hey, are you guys anticipating, having any trouble?' And they said, 'With what?'"
That's a good answer. Yeah.
I didn't even know. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an essential. I mean,
yeah.
You can't go 3 days, you'll be dead without that.
Exactly.
So there, what I thought, and it made me think, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to start looking at that type of investment myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's, so these are the things, and Amazon, of course, can't compete with them. So I like that too. But yeah, Ben Mallah, though, how about yourself? What's your take on Ben Mallah?
I mean, I think he's got a very similar strategy as you, which is to buy things at below market value, and then I feel like his strategy is a lot to fix them up, and then he gets them, sells them out, and so he's got some pretty good. But every deal that he does, he's making a lot of money on the deal, which is the same as you. So I think that when you're doing that, there's no way you can lose, right? Because it doesn't matter. I mean, because you're in such a good position when you buy the property that even if things turn on you. Yeah. And that's that's what I try to do on a lot of the properties that I buy as well. And when 2008 came, I was, at that time I was buying all 30-year fixed mortgages on all of my properties. So I was leveraged, but because it was 30-year fixed, it didn't matter that the values of the properties went down. So my rents were still the same. In fact, my rents went up because it actually caused more people to have to rent. And even though the paper value of the properties maybe even cut in half, it didn't matter. But I had some cash at the time too, and it was like it was a buying frenzy. And I think just like you're saying now, what happened there was the banks tightened up, right? They basically stopped lending money. So cash was king, and cash is going to be king again. Now, I think in this situation, like that's what, I think if you're well positioned, if you're kind of planning out for the worst, and you get into a situation where when something like this happens, it kind of sucks. I mean, for both of us, we're going to lose some rents and stuff like that, and potentially some property value, but we're going to have cash to be able to buy when all those prices go down. That's when I get pretty excited. I'm actually kind of looking forward to the market to crash, because I'm going to be buying up stuff like crazy and getting good deals, because there's no good deals now. And all these other people that were my competition, they can't get loans from the bank. So I could just buy stuff cash because I got cash, and I can finance it later if I want to. And I think that's the powerful, it's good to be in that position. So yeah, with the whole, crash and stuff, I think, but it's a good test, right? Like I said, there was so many people I knew in real estate who were doing pay option arm loans and all these, ridiculous financing. And then 2008 came and the market crashed and they lost everything. And they were trying to do all these leverage deals where they were just banking on appreciation and not cash flow. So with that part, I agree with Grant on the cash flow part. It's like, you got to have like leverage appreciation is great, but if your properties aren't producing cash flow, you are you're in trouble, because cash flow is really the thing that you need overall. But yeah.
Yeah, in 2008, probably in 2007, I just bought a restaurant, and I got a hell of a deal on it. I bought it for like $750,000 down. I got the owners to carry a note, $700,000 at 3%. So beautiful note.
Nice.
And I even had it being assumable. So I was just about to the end of 2 years on that thing, and I'd rented the parking lot out to a neighboring builder. He needed to stage his construction in my parking lot. I just fenced the thing. I improved the restaurant, made it really beautiful. Meantime, I'm renting the parking lot for $5,000 a month, and so it was working beautifully. Well, about the time he wrapped up with his deal, that's when the banking crisis hit. And so in that particular asset, I had a bar in an area in a neighborhood where they would never let a bar be there again. They just, you have to ask the neighborhood, hey, can we have a bar here? And the answer is almost always no today.
Right.
It is. Well, so I bought this pre-existing bar. So it was grandfathered in, it's done. It's got its right to be there. Well, I was getting near, but if you have a bar that goes empty, if you don't reestablish the same like-kind business within 2 years, you lose the right to do it. And I was getting to the last 3 months. So I was like, whatever, a year and 10 months or something. And I go, okay, great. Then we get hit with this thing. Well, restaurants are struggling businesses in general. They don't, the banks, their name's like mud. I mean, on day one, even when things are good, it's just the truth. They fail like crazy. And so I couldn't put anybody in there. I couldn't sell that to anyone that could use a restaurant, except maybe another investor. And they weren't interested because of the whole problem. So I ended up opening the damn sports bar, and I didn't watch sports. And that was miserable. So all of a sudden I had to go get a license, get it, I opened it up, and I opened up a bar. But I did that because I didn't want to lose the right to sell alcohol. So I reestablished it again. And then I sold the whole place later on, about a year later. And so, but that was tough because, like you say, it took my buyers out of the buyers weren't there. Even the renters, I couldn't even rent the place to a restaurant because they were struggling so bad. Nobody wanted to do anything, every once in a while, a fluke thing, you'll run into somebody that has some cash. Even I think I might already told you, it's in my video too, my last video. I was sitting on the I don't know, not the dock, but the deck overlooking the lake at my other property, and just relaxing May 1st, waiting for the news to come in, good or bad. And I see a phone call and I say, geez, I know this guy's having a problem. I talked to him, sure enough, he's having a problem. Then the next one goes like, oh no, I hope they're not having a problem. I thought they were strong. Well, I answer it and talk to him. They said, hey, Tom, we're thinking about buying a condo. They're not even fazed by the money problem. They go, well, what you think of this condo? And I said, well, I'm thinking you shouldn't buy it right now because the values are going to drop. But since the neighborhood you're talking about, I have a house over there. I said, why don't I sell you the house instead? So we got together, and they didn't like that particular house, but they agreed to buy another one that I have a block away. So, and they're going to pay cash. They're going to pay cash. So a lot of people save for a rainy day. Not everybody, but some people do. And that's really what you need to do. You got to have money. Leverage when you start.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's your growth. But leverage in as much as buy it under market, leverage, because that your equity is stronger. Even some of these houses I just bought, I was going to, if I was asking 330 or 600, now maybe I'd take 550 or 300. And I'm making deals like that right now. So like you say, that's your hedge, is buying it under market. And then your second hedge is the fact that you're not too heavily leveraged. So that's the way I operate anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. What other gurus you looking at, or do you consider legit or not legit, or, or do you know much about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really follow too many. Like, I don't really trust a lot of people, right? Most of what I learned about real estate, I just learned on my own, just from getting out there and doing it. And I think that's really the best, because people say all these things and they promise all these things, and then it's usually not accurate. And it's and something that when you just go out there and you can run the numbers, and you can it's hard to find people to trust, right? Like you're someone I can trust because I know that you've done it, and I know that, and I've seen it. Whereas most people, it's really not that good. So I kind of look and see what's going on. I think actually, I just talked to meet Kevin. He's got some pretty good solid advice. He understands real estate really, really well. So I think you can't go wrong with anything that he says. I've never found anything that I'm like, okay, that's absolutely wrong. He's a little bit of a sensationalist, but that's just his kind of style to get views and stuff like that. But his fundamentals are solid. But I'm trying to think if there's really any other ones. Bigger Pockets has got some good information on there. I think those guys for sure, it's pretty solid. Fundamental type of stuff on there. And then I'm trying to think who else would. It's interesting. I do from time to time look at Robert Kiyosaki and his stuff. Some of it is a little bit crazy, but he also has some pretty good insight on a few things as well. It's weird. Like, again, I would say that I don't like just fully jump into anyone's camp, and I think that's key. It's like you got to like listen to all these people and hear all these different viewpoints and perspectives, and then you got to like actually look at it on paper and figure out what makes sense, and take some of the good stuff from what different people are saying, and then you got to do the analysis yourself. There's no way to not do the analysis yourself. I think that's what I've learned. So
right. And I'm somebody, I mean, I don't sell easy on anybody, and I always kind of read between the lines. And I watched a little piece of him meet Kevin the other day, and I think, what he actually, his story kind of reminds me of my own. He's kind of discovered, wow, real estate early. Now, some of the stuff I heard him talking about, I don't think is universal. And I'll give you an example. He talked about buying a house, $300,000, that I think became worth $600,000. Now, in California, you got, was it Prop 10 or Prop 11? I can't remember what it is, but it holds the value pretty much at what you paid for it. Now in Texas, they're going to raise your property to whatever the value is every damn year.
Yeah.
So, and I think he said he had that house rented for like, I don't know, $2,000 a month, and he bought it for $300 and it was worth $350. Nice little deal. Okay, nice little deal. Now it's worth $600 a couple of years later. Well, the problem is in Texas, when your property goes from $300 to $600, forget it. You can't even keep the property. You can't even rent it, because the problem is your return will go below a 2% return on your money, even on your equity. It's terrible, because the taxes are so high. They're like 3% as opposed to 1.1. So anyways, but I like what I see from Kevin, and it looks like he's, I used to, in fact, it's funny. I think he's in Ventura area. I bought a house on Ocean Drive in Ventura. We call it Channel Islands. Really, the name of the city is Oxnard. But I bought a house on Ocean Drive, probably 30, more than 30 years ago, before Kevin was born. but I used to walk to a bar called the Whale's Tail. It was a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun there. But yeah, that'll be interesting. So did you interview him?
I did actually. I did a coaching call with him. So I was actually trying to get some information about how he's doing his YouTube. He's exploding pretty well on YouTube. So I actually paid him for some time to actually give me some tips on YouTube stuff. So yeah. So that was.
He seems. I know he's a big Grant Cardone fan.
He kind of made his name throwing stones at Grant Cardone, which is interesting. But yeah, Grant responded to him, which was not too smart. That was like a bad move. You know, when you're the giant and people and someone's, you know, tossing pebbles at you, you should just ignore the pebbles.
Yes.
But Grant did not do that, so that was you know, not the best calculated move. But it worked out well for Kevin because he got a lot of publicity out of it and stuff. But yeah, you know, that whole strategy of, well, I mean, investing in California. I was just talking to someone who I'm doing some coaching for, that I'm coaching them on real estate investing, and they were talking about how they're getting bad cap rates on their properties and that they need to find higher cap rates and they need to, and I was trying to explain to them that within a particular market, you can't find a higher cap rate, because the cap rate is what the cap rate is for that market, that it compresses and it is what it is. And even if you buy property under value, which you should, your cap rate is now whatever the market value of the property is. If you buy a property for $300,000 that's worth $400,000, the cap rate is based off of what it's actually worth, not what you paid for it. Right. So the market defines the cap rate. There's no way around that. And that's where, like, the whole investing in California, you know, where I'm at, San Diego or LA, you know, Orange County, all those areas, Bay Area, it's like the cap rates are like 3%. There's just no way around that.
No,
so if you're investing,
that's Santa Barbara, all that stuff. I mean, when you get near the water or you get into an area like Santa Barbara, I mean, I was looking at buying, when I bought that Ocean Drive property in Ventura area, I was looking at you know, things off State Street, and et cetera. And even in that area, at that time, you could buy a duplex and lose $2,000 a month.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and those are just not good, solid investments to make, because it doesn't make any sense. Because it comes down to there's no cash flow in there. There's no, you know, I like to look for deals where if I'm going to leverage, where when I purchase a deal that I am at break even, or either break even, or I'm at the point where all the rents that are coming in and cash flow, that it matches the depreciation perfectly, so I'm paying no taxes on any of that cash flow that comes in. Because I feel like that's, and then like you said, eventually you get out of that leveraged position, but like initially you get that growth there. So, right. But I'm putting up, actually, I just put up one of my properties yesterday. I put up a triplex that I bought. I bought this, actually, really good deal. I bought a triplex. Was it probably like 12 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, somewhere around there. And I bought it for $75,000 cash. Wow. in like Boise area in Idaho. And I'm just listing it now for $311,000. And I'm just putting it up now because I know that the prices are the market's about to drop. So,
well, everybody's, I mean, what's going to really hurt is when the banks go, whoa, we don't know what that's worth today. And they might not even trust the appraiser. You follow me? So you might be better to look for a cash buyer and do what I call in my book, leapfrog. Okay. In other words, jump ahead and beat them to the punch and just, you know, sell it a little under market, whatever that is at the moment, you know. But anyways, my deal is I'm in a good position. I'd like to have more cash. I've got a couple things sold. Hopefully they're going to go through. But I'm, you know, I'll make deals on the stuff that I want to make deals, because I do want cash. I want more cash in my hands. And like I say, I might be doing a little leapfrogging myself.
Yeah. No, it's important to get ahead of it. I'm going to see what happens with this property being listed. But fortunately, in Idaho, there's a lot of cash buyers that are coming from California, so that's likely to be the case. But we'll see what happens. I've got it. I feel like it's priced under market right now, so we'll see. Hopefully, I'm in time right before don't want to be chasing the down, like you said, you know.
Well, and we should explain. So leapfrogging, for those people watching, is a term I use, and I got a chapter on it. And basically, it's like when I go to buy a property in an auction situation. Sometimes people have like private auctions. Not everybody knows about it. Is what I'll do is, you know, people are bidding, say 100, 105, 110. This has happened out throughout the day. What I do is I come in, people are at 110, 105, and this is quiet, a silent auction. I'll say, look, I'll give you 150, but I want the answer right now or within a couple hours. And the reason I do that is I know that these other guys are going to go up 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way up to 250,000. So by jumping ahead, leapfrogging ahead with a big offer, I get the property, you know, because the way that, and these are the exact words of the last one I bought, the seller's like, hey, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So they take it. And the opposite side of that is what me and John are talking about on the leapfrog. And the other way, you go to sell your property, rather than just be at market or just a little bit at market, go ahead and jump and sell 20% under market or 10% more under market than everybody else. That's leapfrogging to get rid of it before things catch down with you or catch up to the lower value. So anyhow, I thought we should clarify that. Sometimes we forget people are listening and may not know the terminology we're using. So
yeah, perfect. All right, well, I guess we should wrap this up here. Maybe I think would be needed to. What about some parting advice? Maybe we can each give some parting advice for people right now that are watching that want to get started in real estate investment or that are investors right now. What should they do? What's the opportunity or what's the play here if you're wanting to invest? What do you say?
Number one, cut your overhead. Just cut it. Cut your overhead. Get rid of the stuff you don't need. Contrary to what, it's not really good for the people out there of the food world, but I mean, just cut your overhead. Eat more at home. Save. Stay healthy, because it's going to be another 8 weeks at least before they're even going to be able to probably treat you in your area if you do get sick. So just stay healthy. Stay healthy. Observe the things to stay healthy, because you don't want to get sick. Nothing will screw you up worse than that. But then save your money. Save your money. If you got property you can sell that you're getting ready to sell, just sell it. Sell it. Leapfrog ahead. Do what you got to do to get rid of it right now, because that you'll make up for it later on with the money, with what you're going to be able to buy. Okay, so save your money. Don't jump and invest in anything at the moment. The dust hasn't settled yet. Okay.
Yeah.
We have buildings that aren't open. I had a yoga studio call me today, and I'm thinking, why are you even calling? I had another one interested in renting for today. A school, another school. And I'm like, you can't even open. What are you doing?
Right.
And so anyways, that's it. Just wait till the dust settles. Hang on to your cash. Don't hand it to somebody else to invest it for you. Just hold on to your cash. You don't know where we're at yet. And, that would be my best advice at the moment. Just wait, but get educated. Here's the best thing you can do in the next 4 months. Get educated. Listen to guys like me and John. You can get my book for $10 on Kindle. If you don't like it, you can send it back. I mean, and it's like a course, but get educated. And then, so how perfect? You save your money, and in 4 months, you got as much cash as you can accumulate. You got knowledge that you didn't have before, and you can start to assess things and make a good decision on whatever you do buy. So that'd be it for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say something pretty similar. I'd say right now, the best thing you could be doing is looking at the market and studying the market so that you can see when there are good deals and you can see what the trend is going to be. So start getting, looking at the market, looking at it every day, looking at what's for sale that's within your potential price range, but don't make any moves right now because things are not on sale yet. But they're gonna be on sale. I think there's no way around it. It might be. And, I think a lot of people were getting scared. They're like, oh, I had some coaching clients even, they're like, oh, I guess I'm not going to invest in real estate now after this. And I'm like, no, wait, like, this is this might be the best time in your life to invest in real estate coming up here in the next 6 months to a year. So get some cash, hold on to your cash for now, study the market, and get Tom's book, of course, and follow, if you haven't subscribed to Tom's channel, by the way, subscribe on there so you can see, because he's giving you the straight deal on the investments that he's doing. I don't talk about real estate all the time on this channel, but Tom does all the time.
That's all I do. And I want to say something about that, what you just said. A lot of people don't consider real estate like the stock market, but guess what? It is a lot like the stock market. If you look at how Warren Buffett invests, what he does, they keep pitching deals at him, but he hardly ever swings. But what he does is he swings when he's got something coming at him that's worth more then he's got to pay for it. Okay. The other thing, what he's talking about and waiting, I was saying, is you buy on a dip, right? You want to buy at the bottom. So in 4 months, you're going to know what the bottom is. 4 to 6 months, you'll kind of know what the bottom is by today's standards. So you're buying at the bottom. That's where you want to buy. Don't buy today. Anyways, that's all.
Yeah. Unless you find like a super screaming deal.
Yeah. I mean, it takes experience to determine that, but I mean, sometimes I don't know who I'm talking to out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But so I would say, I agree. Just wait, and the opportunities should show up here, and have the cash, because don't expect on the loan to come through here. If you can, the more cash that you have, the better off that you'll be, and to take advantage of these situations here and stay alive. If you're a current real estate investor, the name of the game is to stay alive, because if you make it out, you'll be good. And then I guess that's the other thing maybe to consider is, looking at this, whenever you get into a deal, always think about how you're going to exit the deal, because what's the downside? Because if you can protect your downside, you're fine, right? So I think that's one of the things that controls whether or not you're going to survive when the shit hits the fan, because it eventually will, is have you considered your downside, and a way to protect, how do you hedge against your downside, right?
Right. You should always think about the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, a pandemic. Okay. That's probably one of the worst things that can happen. And I never saw this coming. I never saw this coming. Yeah. But I've been through 2008, and I've been through 1980. Okay. I've been through 1981 and 82. Gas, I mean, it was terrible. Interest rates super high on to buy real estate back then. That's how far I go back. But I can tell you, is the main thing is keep your overhead very low. Don't be too leveraged, and you'll survive and you'll do well. But yeah, that's it. That's it, I think. And you'll be smiling like me and John can smile. Ben Mallah can smile. You don't see Grant Cardone smiling. You look at him; he is not smiling at all. But me and John, we're talking about losing money. I lost a lot of money, and Ben Mallah did, and we're smiling. We can still laugh. We can still enjoy the sun, and we know we're gonna get through it. So anyhow, that's where you want to be.
All right. Thanks again, Tom. And guys, go check out Flip Anything USA, and go definitely get Tom's book. You won't regret it. So, all right.
Thanks, John.
Talk to you guys next time.
Yep. Take care.